Hey guys, what's going on? El Zorro here. I wanted to make this video to give you my opinion on what could have been the Super League. As I am recording this video, all the Premier League clubs have decided to abandon the ship, so I believe any minute now an announcement will be made stating that the competition will no longer be held. Still, want to talk about what this type of tournament could have meant for football. Would this competition affect domestic leagues? Does this type of competition assure competitiveness amongst the top world-class teams? Is this the way football should be evolving? Had these clubs a legitimate reason to propose this tournament? I will be covering this and more in this video, so watch until the very end. And if you like this type of content, please give it a like to the video and subscribe. Let's go! Before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want to make a disclaimer that I hope will help me make my point. So I want to state that I don't think there is such thing as a big or a small club. That sort of division between clubs doesn't really go with me and with what I believe football is all about. In my mind, the only thing that separates a team from another is whether a team is playing good or bad at a certain point in time, whether a team is being competitive or not. Sure, a club might have a bigger budget than other clubs, better players and so on, but that only increases the chances of a team being competitive and play well. But there is no guarantee that both of those things happen. A team could have the biggest budget, expensive players, some prestige, and still fail to be competitive and give good games to the viewer. It goes the opposite way as well. A humble team with small resources but with the right manager and sports plan could fight for everything in its reach and give its audience games worth watching. That being said, let's talk about the main problem I saw with this competition. I'm talking about the classification, or the lack of it, or the fact that only 5 teams would have been able to classify. The main argument behind this idea of having 15 big clubs that will stay in the competition without them having the need to classify no matter what is that they would have delivered the type of football that will draw interest by the viewers and make the sport grow. On paper, it kind of makes sense. I mean, who wouldn't want to see all the top teams play against each other every week? But the thing is, there's no such thing as an everlasting top team. Let me explain. Now, let's take a look at all the winners of the European Cup and Champions League ever. The only ones missing are Liverpool and Bayern from the past 2 years. First, I want you to look at Real Madrid, the most successful team in European competitions. And I say this as a Barcelona fan, but this is facts. So, Real Madrid, the team with the most titles, won a title in 1956, 57, 58, 59, 1960, and again in 1966. And they didn't get another title until 1998. So it took the most successful team in the competition 32 years to win another title. 32 years. Barcelona didn't get their first title until 92. We reached the finals, but they were 25 years apart. Bayern spent 25 years without being champions. Now, let's move on. I want to show you the champions of the Premier League. I want to talk right now about Manchester City, a team that I now love under Guardiola. But as you can see, before 2012, they only had 2 titles, and they were 30 years apart from each other. I mean, before 2012, they hadn't won a title in 43 years. Look at Liverpool. Look at all they've won in the 70s and 80s. Do you think that at that point it crossed their minds that they would spend 20 years without a Premier League title? I think not. My point is, some of the clubs that are called big clubs for this soon-to-be extinct Super League are teams that at some point in time were not as prestigious or as competitive as they are now. Do you think that there's no possible way that Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern, or these so-called big clubs fall and start losing consistently for a period of time and people take them for small teams? I think it's very possible, and I actually think it's very likely to happen. The one thing that all teams have in common is that they all lose at some point, and that losing streak could last years. You think that Milan thought that they were going to end up where they are now? A lot of people don't consider them a big team anymore. At the moment, it seems that they have a project that could bring them back into a good streak, but the truth is that they lost a huge number of fans. People don't watch them as they used to. That can happen to any of the founder clubs this competition had planned. Also, some of the clubs that were not being considered and that were classified as smaller clubs could at any point land on a good dynamic, bring some really good football to the table, and be competitive. Where was PSG or Manchester City 20 years ago? Were they the big names that they are today? No. That same thing could happen to any other team. Who's to say that Ajax won't return to its former glory? And this could happen to many clubs. And what if these clubs didn't get into the 5 only spots that classified to the Super League, or didn't even want to compete there? What kind of prestige would be left for a competition that doesn't have the top performing clubs? My point being, at the end, a big name doesn't make a good team. A good playing team makes a good team. That's the bottom of it. So if the teams are not performing well, people are not gonna want to watch them. There's a simple solution to all these problems, and it's called, you guessed it, classification. It already exists. The clubs that make the most merits with their football, the ones who play best and bring a better show for the viewer, are the ones who get to compete. If a team is playing bad and has a bad following, you don't even need to bother with them. They probably won't classify. You want to make the tournament more competitive? Reduce the number of teams that play in the competition. Want to get even more viewers? Make the tournament longer. While I do understand what was behind the Super League project, or I think so, I believe that the problem they were trying to avoid would have come back at some point with this structure of clubs that need no competitive merit to play. So, I do believe something good has come out of all this. The clubs have spoken, and they're going through a financial crisis, even removing the pandemic out of the equation. So, a change needs to be made. They had an idea that I believe everyone would like: a more competitive, entertaining, and longer tournament. And who doesn't want that? The thing is, they failed at recognizing what really makes a competition entertaining, in the long run at least. But even then, UEFA should be open to hearing the club's needs and try to incorporate some of the good ideas that actually came out into something that can benefit the sport, the clubs, and most important, the fans. I do love the idea of a league-based tournament. I think it would reward the more consistent teams overall and punish those teams who fall back and wait for a short score. As a Barcelona fan, I was worried that Florentino Perez was the one leading all this mess. I hope that what happened in the 50s with Santiago Bernabeu wouldn't happen again, and so how Real Madrid ended up winning the first 5 installments of the tournament they promoted themselves. This last point made even more noise to me, considering that the referee committee belongs to FIFA and UEFA, and they were not going to be participating, which raised the question: who was going to arbitrate the Super League? A new referee committee created by the president of Barcelona's biggest rival? I wonder what would have happened. I think we all know that. Anyway, these are my opinions on the Super League, and while it's probably not gonna happen anymore, they did make some strong points to consider for Champions League. With that, I end this video. What are your thoughts on everything that's happening? Do you think that the Super League was a good idea? Leave your opinion down below in the comments. If you liked the video, please like, and don't forget to subscribe for more content. Follow me on Twitter for up-to-date opinions on Barca, link down in the description. Thanks for watching. Visca el Barça.